Hi guys, I'm Rhiannon Edwards, a young adult paranormal and fantasy author, and today I'm going to be doing a video on how it all began and how I've got to this point in my writing career. I've had a lot of people ask me and question sort of how I've got to this moment in time, so I thought I would just detail how I've got here. So first of all, I am going to be sort of re-updating the office soon, and that's why these shelves behind me are an absolute mess, so please ignore that. They'll be sorted soon. This is all like home family stuff and paperwork, and it's an absolute state. And this is my very unorganised bookshelf, and it's not actually a bookshelf, it was a DVD shelf. Repurposed. So yeah, just ignore the mess behind me, but let's get on to today's video. So where it all began, I actually first started writing my duology, the Aphora duology, when I was about 14 or 15, and it became my English coursework. At that time, coursework was still a thing. I don't think it's that much of a thing anymore during GCSEs, but I wrote the prologue for GCSE coursework for English literature. So this is the Aphora book. I remember writing sort of the description of the monster in the car, and then I went on to continue writing the prologue for my GCSE English coursework. And I do remember getting some encouragement at the time by my teacher had some teaching students in, and they quite liked it, and I think that encouraged me. But if you've been following my videos for any length of time, you may have come across me saying how I pantsed my way through this book. Which was fun at the time. It was the first time I was sort of writing a novel, and the ideas just came, but they came on and off because I didn't have this plan. And then I finished the first draft when I was at uni, actually. I think I was in my first year, and I finished the first draft. I then did go and obviously do lots of edits and stuff, but I had done absolutely zero research into publishing, guys. Other than that, I knew I wanted to publish. I was so proud of this story at the time, but I was so incredibly nervous about letting anyone read it, so I didn't. I then did actually try and send it to a few agents. Obviously didn't get anywhere with that. I did get some nice emails back. Some people just didn't email back, understandably. I then started trying some publishers / agents, and I did get an offer, but I would have had to have paid them, and I think that's a big no-no in this industry. And I didn't have that kind of capital anyway to take such a big risk on. And I did get another offer who would basically publish through Kindle for me and do all of that. But then I did start looking into it, and I was like, I think I can do all of this myself. They gave me some really encouraging feedback on the story as well. And then I decided, so during all of that, I completed my degree. I did psychology, and then I went on to become a learning mentor in a secondary school. That's where I met my husband, by the way. And then he was teaching secondary, but then I went on to do my GTP, my PGCE for teaching, but in primary. So I went and did that, got my teaching qualifications, and then began teaching. And I think I was in my first year of teaching when I published this book. It was exciting. This was not the original cover, by the way. I did my own cover. Big mistake. I have no skills in cover designing at all. And yeah, I self-published it, went to Amazon. I didn't really do much other than I did put it into Kindle Unlimited at the time. And I did sell some books, but I pretty much sold to people I knew. My godmother worked in a secondary school as well, and she got me in to do like a little talk to some of the students in like an evening event, and that was cool. I sold a few books there. But that's all I really did. I had this intense sort of shyness, maybe not necessarily embarrassment, although I was embarrassed at having like that attention on me, I suppose. And I sort of shied away from it, and I just didn't do anything after that. So that was in 2016 when I first published Aphora. And then fast forward a couple of years, I had been writing the second book sort of on and off, but I didn't have a plan again. And then I had my son in Rianne. I had my son in 2019. And so I had him in June 2019. And sort of by that September time, I was on maternity leave. And it was the first time ever that I wasn't like in a school. And he actually did have really good naps, so he didn't sleep at night very well, but he had 2 like hour and a half long naps in the day. And he was my only child at the time as well, so when he was happily playing, I could get a bit done then. I got a lot done in those couple of hours in the day. And it sort of, I got that juice back, that fire back. And I was writing this second book, and then I suddenly realised that it wasn't a trilogy, it was duology. And I don't know if that's because I wanted to be finished, and that was more for me that I wanted to finish, because I say this was now 2019, so 3 years after I published the first book. So I finished this book, and the second one came about. This is my second book, Aphora the Last Guardian. This was the first cover for this because I updated this cover with a cover designer. There you go. My ring light's on it. So I updated the cover with this when I was commissioning this one. And finished this book. And I realised that I needed some readers. So I had been doing a lot more research into self-publishing, and I realised I need something called a beta reader, as most of you probably do know. But I was still incredibly nervous about letting somebody else read this and what they might say. So in my mind, I thought if I paid someone, I could more likely trust their input, their advice. I don't know, that's how my brain went. So I went on to Fiverr. As you know, I've talked a lot about Fiverr, and I did find a beta reader there. And she said that she would have to read the first book to sort of understand the second book, understandably. So I gave her the first book. Obviously, she wasn't there to give me input on the first book, but she gave me input on the second book. And she gave me like an 11-page report. It was really in-depth. This is what I class as like a bit of a developmental edit, because she was so thorough in all aspects of the story. There were some things I couldn't change because they were already situated in book 1 that I'd already published, but I'm so glad I got her to read this book, because I changed quite a bit because of her. And the people who have read book 1 and book 2 have said that there was a big difference between them, and that was because I got other eyes on it. I also then got her to edit it when I'd done those like big structural changes. I got her to do an edit on the book as well, and she definitely tidied it up. And then I published it. But again, I didn't really do much more than that. And I still don't think I have, I was about to say I still don't think I have many reviews, but I took them down. But that comes a bit later. So I published book 2. It'll tell me. 2020. I can't remember when. I think it was maybe like June, July time that I published a second book in Aphora. And as I was publishing that, I started writing the first book in the Bloodline Alliance series, Hunted. And that was the first time that I sat down and I planned that story out. I had a rough idea of where I wanted to go for books 2 and books 3, but I fully planned out book 1. And that really helped. I wrote a lot quicker because I'd already done that. This chair is squeaking, sorry. I'd already done that hard structural pace plot line planning beforehand. So when I finished book 1, I then went and got beta readers. So I did send it to the same person I sent the second Aphora book to, and I got her feedback and I updated that, and then I sent it out to beta readers. So I went onto Facebook, went onto a few like beta reading groups and sort of asked people if they wanted to beta read, and I did. I think I had about 9 beta readers. That may or may not sound like many, I don't know. And then of those, not all of them finished in the time that I had, but I did get some feedback back, and that I think really helped develop the story. And I'm really glad that I did that. I got other eyes on it. So I did all those edits, and then I sent it back to my editor to sort of tighten it up, did all that, published it. I published that in September, October time. Side note, can we have a look at how much my formatting has changed? Because that's the first page of what I first published. It's not too bad, but you know, it could definitely be better. And then this is the first page, so the same font. Ooh, the same font. So it definitely improved. Okay, so I published the first book in that sort of September, October time of 2020. I was already pregnant with my daughter, and unfortunately I got signed off work. Obviously we're in the midst of this pandemic, the middle of this pandemic at that time, and I was signed off work because I was very ill with her, and so I had a lot of time. My mum was still happy to take my son on a couple of days because when I worked she took him, and that gave me that bit of downtime. As I said, I was quite ill, and so I was feeling quite lost as I was writing the second book. In fact, I think I had finished writing it and I was just starting the third book, but I hadn't published the second book. And I was feeling really lost. I didn't know what to do. And that's when I took the HB90 planning system course. And that I took in December of that year. And that was a lifesaver. I mean, this isn't a promotional video for that, but I think taking that course really helped give me direction, and it gave me a whole group of people that I had for support, and I was able to fully plan my time. I still over plan, I think I always will, but it meant that I had this path to follow now. I was no longer just like stumbling. As you might have seen in my other videos when I talked about why I quit my job, like I had this like need to write and to publish, and I was not really giving it the time that it needed, and I was still really shy. I was still really worried about people liking my work. I have this really insane need for people to like me, and unfortunately not everybody is going to like you. It'd be a boring world if everyone did. But that personal need of mine, I think, sort of transpired into my books, and I was at a point where I was unable to separate myself from that anxiety and that thought process, and that was holding me back. So this course gave me this sort of direction and that thinking of where do I want to be, what do I want to do. And I was also off work, and my brain wasn't doing very well. So having that focus helped me. I wrote Nano, so in the November I finished the second book, I do believe. And again, that helped me because it gave me something to focus on. So I finished Nano, I did that course in December, we got to January, and then I took Sarah Cannon's Publish and Thrive course. So I've recently done a video on that because she's just started the course again. So sorry if you've missed enrollment, she will be opening it up again in the summer. But I took the course in the February. So my daughter was born at the end of March. So I was very close to her being born at this point. So, and I was bedbound in the sense that I couldn't move very well. I had problems with my hips and stuff. I was on crutches. So perfect opportunity to sit and watch all the tutorials and the videos and the course stuff and the lives because I couldn't do much else. So I took her course on publishing and learnt so much. And I was no longer just like wandering in this weird self-publishing void. And I think that helped me again, the combination of both those courses of where I wanted to go. I still am a little bit lost because obviously there's just so much and it's so wide, and it's like, how do I narrow this down? I've already published. I don't want to slow down. I want to speed up. I no longer have that luxury of time, if that makes sense. That's how I was feeling. So but I have that course as a backup. I can dip in and out anytime I want. The foundations are there, and I always need to look at those foundations because I'm still trying to set those foundations as I move forward. So I took that course, and I had already announced that I was publishing the second book, I think around the same time, so March, because I wanted that book before she was born. So I did the course, published this book, and then I had the third book, which I was halfway through writing. And I just thought, do you know what? I need to get this third book out. I was starting to use some of the course information, and that's how I updated like the contents and the inside. I also follow Bethany Atazadea, and she has a fantastic series on formatting, so go check that out. So I used all of that knowledge I had and updated these books. I also updated it to a series, not a trilogy, because I didn't want to be penned in to writing 3 books. I wanted that open-endedness, so I made it into a series, not a trilogy. So I did start utilising what I was learning for the third book. So I did that, published that. I published the third book in October of 2021. So all 3 books were out at that time. In the meantime, I had been doing small little things, like I'd been doing newsletter promos where you pay. I was doing like little newsletter promos, so I'd paid like $5 or $20 to be put on this list. That was okay. I got a couple of sales from them, but not too much. I then also did a Fiverr promotion that was a waste of time, that didn't go anywhere. And I did a few Facebook ads. I don't think I got any sales from them. I think Facebook ads are like this weird entity on their own, and I might need to look at that again in the future. The same with Amazon ads. So I was doing a few little things like that to sell my books. I still was a little bit nervous about it, despite the fact that these books had been through beta readers and editors and stuff like that. I knew I had more of a secure footing with this series, and I was really proud of the work that I had done, but I still had this thing holding me back. We'll call it anxiety, just holding me back from shouting from the rooftops that I had these books that I was really proud of. So that's what I got up to publishing those books, and as you can see, I did not do much stuff in terms of promo or promotion. You know, part of me is like, oh, why haven't I just uploaded it to these platforms and had loads of sales? That's because I've done nothing to try and sell them. I won't go into too much detail about that because that's not what this video is about. And as you might be able to tell, I've not done very well on that. I have been focusing on social media, and you know what kept me back from social media, from really going forward with social media, was my job. There are a lot of expectations around teaching and educational staff, especially teaching staff, and I don't know if that was holding me back as well. I couldn't feel comfortable on social media because I was wondering about that side of my life. I quit my job and I left teaching, and since then I felt a lot freer, and I think that also helped me with social media. And by this point I had been doing a lot of research. I had these groups that I was a part of, and I think I just felt a lot more comfortable able to be me without worrying about anything else. And slowly but surely, over I think the past month or so, you may have noticed a change in my social media in that I'm doing more reels and posts about my actual work, because my thinking was, if I don't tell people about my books, why would they buy them? And also, if I'm not incredibly proud of my books, how can I expect other people to read them? And I was proud of them, and I did obviously love them, but I wasn't showing that. And now I showcase my books all the time, and I'm having fun with doing all the reels and showing what the books are about. So that's where I'm up to with the sale, with the publishing of the 3 Bloodline books. And then here's the extra thing. 2020, during Nano, I actually started a new series, a complete fantasy series, like a forbidden romance. And that started, again, so I was off work at that point, if you remember, and I wanted to try writing fantasy. I wanted to try writing in first person, and I felt that this story I had that I'd planned, it lended itself to first person. And I wrote this fantasy book during Nano, and then last year I wrote the second book. And that's a 4-book series in my head. And I thought, if I'm self-published, that means I can write what I want to write. And I wanted to write this forbidden romance story. I wanted to put in all those juicy romance stuff, like scenes and tropes and parts of a book that I love reading in terms of romance, and I just stuck it all into this book. I still love it because of that. There's so many scenes in there that I'm like, yeah, this is what I like to read. So my plans moving forward are to publish that series next year, I think I'm thinking of, because I want to have it mostly done before I start publishing. I hope this video has just given you a bit of an idea or a little bit of an insight into my journey so far. Probably not as detailed as I want it to be, but if I was being really detailed, it would probably be many hours long. And I'm a waffler as it is, guys. I think we know this. So that's just sort of like the Cliff Note version of how I am where I am right now. And I'm proud of this journey. I have learnt things and I have made mistakes, and from that I've learnt things. I've taken courses, I've up-leveled my craft, I have worked really hard, put my soul into this, and I'm just starting to break out of that anxiety surrounding my books, thinking if someone doesn't like it, that's fine, not everyone will, and I just want to share them with the world. So yeah, please don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. It would mean the absolute world to have you as a new viewer, especially if you like this video. Please let me know down below, and don't forget to ask me any questions. I do endeavour to respond to all of them, if it's a public one or a private one. I know some people private message me on Instagram, and that's absolutely fine as well. I hope this video has given you a little bit of an insight into how I got to here, and I can't wait to share the rest of the journey with you in the future. Okay guys, I will see you later. Bye!